Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are still covering the G7 summit taking place in France. A short break, I'm going to be back with you.
أود بداية أن أعرب عن ترحيبي الشديد بفخامة الرئيس ماكرون حيث يحل سيادته ضيفا عزيزا على مصر، وذلك في ضوء علاقات الصداقة الممتدة، وهي صداقة تستند إلى تاريخ طويل من المصالح المتبادلة والتفاعلات الإنسانية والحضارية بين شعبينا منذ قرون، خاصة في ضوء الاهتمام الفرنسي الكبير الذي نقدره ونعتز به بالحضارة المصرية ومختلف مراحلها التاريخية لا سيما الفرعونية.
وهنا على أرض مصر كان كتاب وصف مصر الذي سجله علماء فرنسيين وصار من أهم مراجع التاريخ المصري، وسبقه رحلات عديدة سجلها التاريخ من رحالة فرنسيين وصفوا مشاهد الحياة المصرية السرية في كل أشكالها الحضارية. يسرني أن نرحب بكم على أرض مصر المقدسة في مقر الكنيسة القبطية الأرثوذكسية المصرية.
والشراكة الاستراتيجية القائمة بين مصر وفرنسا عزز من عمقها ما شهدته علاقات البلدين على أصعدة التعاون في جميع المجالات والمستوى الرفيع من التنسيق إزاء مختلف القضايا الإقليمية والدولية. أكدت لفخامة الرئيس ترحيب مصر بالشركات الفرنسية وتعظيم مشاركتها في المشروعات القومية العملاقة واستفادتها من الفرص الواعدة في شتى قطاعات الاقتصاد المصري. أعرب لكم عن خالص التقدير والشكر على حسن الاستقبال الذي لقيناه منذ وصولنا إلى بلدكم الصديق، حيث اتفقنا على إعلان عام 2019 عاما للثقافة والسياحة المصرية الفرنسية.
Welcome back. The G7 concludes its meeting today. The summit took 3 days. It is held in Biarritz in France with the attendance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi representing Africa as Egypt holds the presidency of the African Union for this year. The details in the following report.
As part of his current visit to France, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi took part on Sunday in the Group of 7 summit held in the southwestern French resort of Biarritz. Addressing a session on partnership between the G7 nations and Africa, President al-Sisi asserted that Africa's issues are essential to achieve sustainable development in the Black Continent. The president said that we are facing hard challenges and need joint efforts on combating corruption, battling terrorism and extremism across Africa as well as worldwide. As for the situation in Libya, the head of state said that finding a solution to the Libyan crisis needs a political will and taking a political positive step to contain the crisis and regain stability, crush militia and stop any foreign interference. He urged consolidating joint action in order to foster African security, stability and peace in line with the balanced strategic partnership with the world's biggest industrial countries. President al-Sisi's participation in this version of the G7 summit is gaining special significance in light of Egypt's current presidency of the African Union. Meanwhile, on the sidelines of the G7 meetings currently taking place in France, President Sisi stressed that Africa's relationship with its international partners is based on equality and achieving mutual interests. The president's remarks were made during his meeting with the presidents of Rwanda, Senegal, South Africa, Burkina Faso, in addition to the African Commission Chief Moussa Faki. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassem Radi said that the meeting focused on coordinating African stances towards challenges facing the Black continent and means to overcome them ahead of the G7 and Africa Summit. President Sisi, the head of the African Union, reiterated the importance of sending strong message about main challenges facing Africa during the summit, namely reducing poverty, combating climate change, as well as maintaining security and stability.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the current president of the African Union, participates in the G7 summit that is taking place in Biarritz in France for 3 days and ends today. To shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to host today Dr. Salma Shamil Nasser, the Associate Professor of Faculty of Economics and Political Science. Welcome, Dr. Nasser.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I have the pleasure to host you today. Dr. Nasser, now Egypt is participating in this summit as Egypt is presenting the African Union, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is the head of the African Union. How do you see the way and the speech President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi introduced the challenges of Africa to the summit?
Okay, so the G7 remains one of the most important international fora and platforms for discussing global governance. The fact that Egypt has been invited there is exciting on many levels, as you mentioned, also in his capacity as chair of the African Union, besides representing Egypt. So first of all, this year, this 45th session there's just a lot on the table, which I think, albeit challenges, but it makes this year a really interesting set of meetings. Also, I think it really demonstrates or acknowledges it's a sincere acknowledgement of Egypt's both relevance and importance as an international partner and as a regional player, but also its credibility as a partner for implementation. So the president really did capitalize on chairmanship of the African Union in order to champion really the entire continent's interests. And it was interesting how he said, let us move beyond just enumerating these challenges that we all know and try to find solutions. Let us participate, let this continent participate proactively in presenting possible solutions and also presenting itself as a viable investment destination.
Yes. So how do you see, Dr. Nasser, the meeting between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, held by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi? It was actually an extended meeting which he held with the head of the African Commission and the African leaders of South Africa, Senegal, Rwanda, and Burkina Faso.
Right. So there were all 5 African countries attending: Egypt, South Africa, Senegal, Rwanda, and Burkina Faso, yes, as well as the head of the Commission and the African Development Bank was also invited there. And I think it was definitely a very positive step to have them sit together and try to coordinate a role, a single standpoint.
Yes.
And again, present themselves as problem solvers this time and really try. So we all understand that the continent has a lot of challenges.
Yes.
But we really need to move beyond that and start proposing solutions. And I feel that that was really the intention during these meetings.
Yes. Dr. Nasser, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said that ties between Africa and the international partners are of potential importance that will help in finding solutions for African crises and in confronting current challenges. How do you read this?
They were of extreme importance, not potential importance, extreme importance, and also finally presenting Africa, like trying to work on this balanced partnership. And
yes,
a balanced partnership, a
yes.
partnership that leads to that's inclusive,
yes,
where the decision making happens locally as well to get to some sort of results.
yes, and he also added, His Excellency, the continent's priorities. What does he mean by priorities?
The priorities of the continent
of
are
the continent.
Yeah, they're very much in line with the
Yes.
priorities that were set out for the G7. So the big heading was equality. The big heading was fighting inequality, and under that we looked at 4 sub-themes. The first being reducing inequality, access to opportunity, and equal access to opportunities and equal access to services, with a specific focus on gender equality. A second theme was to start working on peace and handling security threats and counterterrorism. The third was climate
Yes.
and redirecting.
Biodiversity.
Exactly,
Yeah.
climate, redirecting financing for climate. And biodiversity, like you said, and also managing this transitional ecosystem.
He also stressed the importance of combating terrorism with the help of the international partners.
Definitely. So, like I said, one of the big focus areas of these meetings was how to really gear ourselves towards an inclusive partnership. So we all acknowledge the challenges, but what really needs to be done is to sort of unify our perspective on how to address these challenges, including most definitely terrorism.
Yes. So, Dr. Nasser, how do you see the sideline meetings that was held by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi between him and Prime Minister of Italy, the U.S. President Donald Trump, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Prime Minister of UK Johnson? How do you see these sideline meetings?
So besides the huge importance of the G7 as a collective, this is an amazing opportunity also for bilateral talks with 7 of the most powerful economies in the world. Like you said, I think this morning, I believe he met with Trump and with the British Prime Minister, and what was discussed was how to deepen bilateral relations between the countries. They also commended all the side meetings seem to have our counterparts commending what has been done in Egypt in terms of economic reform, despite the difficulty.
Yes.
Yesterday, I believe he had met with Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor.
Today.
That was
yesterday was he met with His Excellency met with the Italian Prime Minister. Yes.
And with Merkel, the Germans were particularly interested in looking at trilateral cooperation or triangular cooperation, so how Egypt and Germany could start doing development projects collectively in other African states.
Yes.
And finally, there was, I think the first meeting, like you said, was with the Italian Prime Minister, in which I think the meeting really focused on Libya, which is a top priority for both.
That's the point I was going to talk to you about concerning Libya. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said that the Libyan crisis needs a political will.
Definitely.
So, do you see that this crisis or problem would be solved politically?
This problem has to be solved politically. Yes. The only way to safeguard Libyan unity and the integrity of Libya would be through a political solution, a comprehensive political solution, which just needs political will.
Yes. So previously, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said that the future of trade is in Africa. How do you see this?
I most definitely agree with that statement. And I think that the G7 meetings were an excellent opportunity for the African nations to present themselves as such, as a viable and important investment destination.
Yes, yes. So the sideline meetings between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the leaders, European leaders and the American leader also, on the political side, but how would such meetings and meetings with chambers and businessmen there would bring investments to Egypt?
Again, simply by being there.
Because we all know that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is really concerned about, mega projects and bringing investments to Egypt.
Mm-hmm. So Egypt's being presented at the G7 is, I believe, attests to its credibility and the perception that there is sincere political will in Egypt.
Yes.
In order to reform and in order to guarantee a healthy and safe investment climate. And I think that the G7 meetings were an excellent opportunity to further sort of instill that trust.
Yes, so this year, what makes this year special, because Egypt is presenting Africa and represented by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who is the President of the African Union. What is the print that Egypt and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is going to leave in this G7 summit that differs from any other year when the African Union was headed by other countries?
For starters, there was a collective meeting to present a coordinated and single standpoint. Yes. And there was this consistent message going on about how we call for balanced partnership that is results oriented, that is inclusive, and that is responsive. Yeah. There was a focus on transparency, and this is a follow-up on the anti-corruption, the convention that was in Sharm el-Sheikh earlier this year for African nations. Yes. And that's it.
Yes, yes. So what would you think would be the recommendations or the outcome of this G7 summit of this year, the 45th edition?
Mm-hmm. So for the first time ever in history, I think that they were saying that this session will not have a final statement or agreed upon statement in the end, because there's just, again, so much on the table and a lot of challenges this time. There's a lot of tension concerning the trade wars with China, concerning what's happening in the Amazon and generally how to move forward on climate change. And then there's also the issue of readmitting Russia, which Trump has been putting on the table. And then another huge issue is the Iranian Iranian portfolio.
Yes. Yes. So President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi also spoke about women empowerment in Africa.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that was a focus. That was a huge focus of this meeting. Was declared as one of the sub-themes that were to be addressed throughout the G7, and the president has, in fact, focused on this during his meetings. And I believe that Egypt has an impressive record over the past short period to stand for that. For example, for the first time, we have this national strategy for women. We have 25% quotas in parliament and in local councils now. Yes. We have women judges finally, and in the judiciary and the ministers. Yes. We have accomplished a lot on this front, and there is that sincere willingness to work on and push forward gender equality.
Yes, yes. I thank you very much, Dr. Salma Shamil Nasser, the Associate Professor, Faculty of Economics and Political Science in a private university in Egypt. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, with this, my dear viewers, we come to the end of this coverage with me, Amal Mukhtar. Thank you for watching.